to the Future of AP Automation is Now, a best practices presentation brought to you by the Controllers Council. My name is Neil Brown, Executive Director of the Controllers Council. And before we get to our presentation, let me share some brief housekeeping items. First, this webinar is CPE eligible. There'll be 5 CPE questions. Please answer 3 to 4 of those. And we'll also have a short survey directly after the webinar, so please answer that. And now a common question, will you get a copy of this presentation? Yes, in the next 24 to 48 hours, we will send out a link to this, so no need for notes or screenshots. And with that, let me introduce our partner and sponsor, Transepta. Transepta uses AI to eliminate efficiencies in accounts payable with an enterprise-class platform that's trusted, sophisticated, and scalable. Transepta AI-powered solutions deliver the best in straight-through processing, enabling finance teams to achieve true touchless automation, reduce costs, and better manage cash flow. Organizations across industries rely on Transepta to modernize AP and transform how they work with suppliers. Learn more at transepta.com. With that, I'd like to introduce our subject matter expert and panelist, Sean Hawk, who is Chief Strategy Officer at Transepta, with 20+ years of accounting and finance and automation experience. And he's also a fellow accountant. So welcome, Sean, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Appreciate the introduction and the opportunity to be here. And thank you for everybody for joining. If you go to the next slide, we'll give kind of an agenda for the day here. Hopefully, by the end of this presentation, you will have a good understanding for how to really drive efficiency across the accounts payable department within your organization. Specifically, we'll take a look at both the kind of PO-based and non-PO-based invoice cycles and identify kind of the key success factors in driving efficiency through both of those workflows. We'll spend some time talking about vendors as well. They can be a participant in the process of driving efficiency through AP, and you can use technology to help facilitate that. And then the third thing, everybody's talking about AI these days, and accounts payable automation is no different. We'll spend some time talking about how AI is being used in AP automation. There's some areas where it's really effective, and there's some areas where maybe not as effective. So we'll kind of walk through an overview of that as well. All right. So I guess today we'll start with everybody's favorite, a poll question, and really kind of get into what challenges you're seeing in AP today. So we'll let you kind of spend some time and go through this poll question.
Okay, and yeah, this is our first of 5 polls. All answers are anonymous and confidential. Please take a few seconds. And I know this leads into Sean's presentation as well, so we may ask for his perspective on the results. I think we definitely will on this one. We've got 90% voting, so let's share the results. Number 1, manual data entry, 62%, a majority there. Approving and paying invoices, 15%. Unknown, not sure, 13%. Poor visibility, vendor complaints to minor. Sean, any surprises here?
I guess not too surprising. You know, there certainly has been a growth of kind of companies automating AP, and so maybe the manual data entry is usually the first thing to tackle, and so maybe that's a little bit surprising how high it is. But I guess the other thing that sort of just jumps out at me is if you are kind of in a manual process within your AP department. I would have guessed that the visibility would actually be poor as well. And so I thought that would correlate a little bit more. But, all in, not terribly surprising.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get back to
All
your
right. So
presentation. Yep.
let's get into some of this. So, yeah, the challenges of manual AP. So, we just talked about some of these. Manual processing, obviously, it's expensive. It's AP teams, they don't particularly like it, and so you've got issues with burnout and things like that. But if you want to focus on kind of the hard costs of manual processing, there's a stat up there you can take a look at from one of the folks that does studies on this. And some people might initially react and say, oh, $15 manual, that sounds high. Can you really get it under $3 with automation? And I guess I would say to that, the answer is yes. But even if you want to be much more conservative about it, let's say it's on the low end and it's $10 for to process an invoice manually, and let's say you can only get it to $5 with automation. I think that's not realistic, but still, even in that worst case scenario, you're increasing productivity by 2x, and so there's a lot of room to cut costs with a project around AP automation. The next one, this really just comes down to getting control of the invoice to pay cycle, right? I mean, if you're manual and it's taking you 15 days just to get an invoice through the approval and payment process, then you're obviously missing early pay discounts because not every industry is this real common, but in the industries where early pay discounts are common, they're typically it's 2% net 10, and so you really do want to get your cycle time such that you can control the timing of your payments and take advantage of those discounts. And even if you aren't taking discounts, you still want control of that cycle time so that you can get visibility and schedule those payments for the the last possible moment within terms. The next one, you could argue this is actually the kind of most significant component in terms of driving efficiency in a manual AP department. If you're using POs, the good news is, and we'll spend some time on this in a little bit, you can really automate end to end in a true straight through processing way. The bad news is if you're manual, it can be a nightmare, right? I mean, just matching invoice lines and PO lines with receiving documents. If you're doing three-way, that is probably it's arguably the biggest kind of time suck in the AP department. And so certainly that is a challenge, and automating makes a lot of sense to address that. Next slide. I think we got a couple more of these, if I remember. Yeah. So lack of visibility. We saw only 8% talked about it, but it's interesting because we hear from customers all the time that if you're manually processing invoices, they get to month end and it really slows down the month end process, and also they're running around trying to find out what the outstanding invoices are, because maybe they're in somebody's inbox or on somebody's desk, and so we hear this as a challenge pretty consistently. And then the last one, people have different thoughts on how they approach vendors, but I think most customers do want to provide visibility and timely payments of invoices, and so slow approval cycles, they really do cause relationships to be poor. And in some industries where the vendor relationships are important due to maybe the strategic nature of the supplier, or the potentially it's a supply chain industry or something like that, poor relationships with suppliers can have a real business impact. And so again, just being able to improve those cycle times around approval and paying people consistently on time is something that some customers do have challenges with.